Alright, we got details for the upcoming new in-game event that's going to kick off the month of December. And this event is going to be themed around routes. This is the Along the Routes event, and it's also going to include a brand new mechanic attached to routes that I do think have a lot of potential. But I do think there's also a lot of missed opportunities with this new mechanic as well. I'm going to be talking about all of this in today's video. Let's get right into it. Okay, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day, and welcome to today's Pokemon GO video. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the first in-game event happening in the month of December, and this event is called Along the Routes. Now, the purposes of this event is to introduce a brand new mechanic that I do think some players will actually care about, but a vast majority of players will just simply ignore. What is this new mechanic? Well, when you complete a route, you have a chance of encountering an NPC character named Mateo, and when you encounter this character, you have the opportunity to do a gift exchange. I'll get more into why this matters and why it doesn't matter later on in this video, but first let's go over the details of this event. The Along the Routes event is going to start on Tuesday, December 5th at 10 o'clock a.m. local time, and it's going to go until Friday, December 8th at 8 o'clock p.m. local time. The whole purpose of this event is to introduce the new character Mateo and other updates to routes. So, how does Mateo work? Well, as you near the endpoint of a route, Mateo may actually spawn for you, and he may give you some gifts that he has collected. When you talk to Mateo, you're going to engage in a gift exchange. In this gift exchange, all you have to do is choose one of Mateo's gifts, which is going to be from the endpoint Pokestop or the start point Pokestop, or one of the nearby Pokestops of that route. You may also even get gifts from other players that are from around the world. So this is going to be really good for you to boost up your postcard collection and collect different forms of Pavilion. Now, coinciding with this new mechanic, there's going to be a special research story that's going to be all about this new NPC character named Mateo, and there's going to be a bunch of tasks related to exchanging gifts. Now, let's talk about the wild encounters during this event. You may potentially come across Slugma, Hitmontop, Spoink, Feebas, Lillipup, Woobat, Emolga, Wooloo, and Pawmi. In terms of what's hatching from 7km eggs, you could potentially get Hisuian Growlithe, Togepi, Sneasel, Hisuian Sneasel, Bonsly, and Esper. Now, out of all these 7km egg hatches, the one that's going to matter is going to be Hisuian Sneasel. And the reason for that is because this event is going to be the debut of its shiny form. Now, in terms of the event bonuses during this event, you're going to have a half egg hatch distance when you place eggs in incubators during this event, and you're also going to get 3 times the amount of experience for spinning Pokestops. You're also going to get 5 times the amount of experience for spinning a brand new Pokestop, and then you're going to get 2 times the amount of Stardust from opening gifts. Now, in terms of the Pokemon that you could potentially get from field research encounters, they include Eevee, Hisuian Sneasel, and Wooloo. Again, Hisuian Sneasel is getting its shiny form debut during this event. So, if you want to get yourself a high IV version of this brand new shiny without spending any egg incubators, well, consider doing a bunch of field research tasks going for this shiny. Now, during this event, there's also going to be a timed research, which is going to award you with encounters with Hisuian Sneasel, Feebas, Wooloo, and Pawmi. And then finally, there's going to be Pokestop showcases during this event that's going to be centered around Sneasel and Hisuian Sneasel. So if you collect an XXL version of either of these Pokemon, make sure you hold on to them for those Pokestop showcase rewards. Alright, so what are my thoughts on Mateo and this event? Well, first and foremost, let's talk about the event. So this is pretty lame. I feel like for the longest time, Niantic has kind of set this precedent that you should not expect much from in-game events. And I really do not like that. Yeah, it's pretty exciting that we're getting Hisuian Sneasel's shiny form, but there's really nothing outside of that. Yeah, maybe you can go and complete routes and experience Mateo, and maybe you can get some nice rewards out of those special research stories, but outside of that, there's really nothing going on with this event, and it just felt like Niantic has completely stopped caring about in-game events for the longest time. I feel like they should have done more. The bonuses should have been a lot better. Maybe they could have included some Pokemon that you could only get from this event. And I feel like it just seems very boring. I don't know if that's been a theme with Niantic. Anytime they have an in-game event and it's not a major holiday event like the Christmas or Halloween event, then it's meant to be very lame, to draw a lot of attention towards those other events. That's been my suspicion for the longest time, and it feels like this particular event kind of follows suit. Like, I really feel like the reason for this is because there's just not a lot of enthusiasm around routes, so obviously having an event themed around routes is going to feel pretty lame, but I do think they could have done a lot more. Like, maybe had some special raid bonuses or raid bosses that you can encounter. Maybe with routes, like there'd be some exclusive Pokemon that you can get from routes. There's a lot of cool things that they could have tried with this event, but they just chose not to do so. Yeah, it really feels like some bare bone designs. Like, there's nothing really going on with this event. Like, outside of Shiny Sneasel or Hisuian Sneasel, I really cannot get excited about this event. And yeah, if you're listening, Niantic, I feel like you need to do something about that. We can't just have the best events saved for holidays. I feel like every in-game event should bring something really cool and really fresh to Pokemon Go, but it just hasn't felt that way for the longest time, and I do think that's something you guys need to course correct. But yeah, now let's talk about Mateo. So this NPC character does bring some new mechanics to routes, and I think that's positive. Like, that's a good thing. Why do I say that? Well, routes does feel like it's in a bare bones state, and there's just a lot of things that Niantic still needs to do to make routes even more exciting. And having some new mechanics where you get gifts from completing routes, I think that's pretty cool, in my opinion. Like, if you're trying to collect all of the different pavilion forms and you're trying to get that platinum medal, then this is going to be one of those ways that you could achieve that. But of course, this is kind of a niche gameplay mechanic. Like, it's not really necessarily something that's going to be universally enjoyed. Like, I don't think there's that many players who actually care about getting every single pavilion form. Like, it's not really that many players. Like, it's a very minuscule amount of players that actually care about that. So I really do not know who the core audience is when it comes to this mechanic. Like, yeah, it's going to feel cool when you finish a route, you're going to run into this NPC character, but outside of that, there's really nothing else going on. Like, it's not like you're going to get a special Pokemon encounter, it's not like you're going to get some really cool big premium item. Like, it just feels like you're getting a bunch of extra stuff that not a lot of players actually need. Sure, opening gifts has always become a great source for Stardust as well as items, especially if you do not have any Pokestops near you, and having this gift exchange mechanic is going to basically give you some extra gifts. But if you're going on walks on a route, like, you're basically touching Pokestops to begin with, so yeah, this really does not speak to a lot of players who would need a mechanic like this. Overall, I feel like this design is pretty bare bones, just like routes, and there's just a lot more things that they could do to make this mechanic even more exciting. Like, yeah, having an NPC character like Mateo in the game is a welcome addition. I think adding more flavor elements like that is pretty cool. But at the same time, I feel like the execution of this gift exchange mechanic is just missing the mark. Like, there's just not enough here to draw a lot of excitement, and that's a real shame because I really felt like introducing an NPC character like this into Pokemon Go should have been really cool and rewarding. Like, let me give you an example. So I think the one time where Niantic introduced new NPCs into the game and it was actually something really cool was the Team Rocket balloons, like the Meowth balloons. You know, you run into Jesse and James. They were brand new NPCs added into Pokemon Go, and I really liked the way they were introduced. Like, if you ever run into them, you get 2 grunt battles, essentially. So that gives you 2 mysterious components, as well as 2 separate encounters with Shadow Pokemon, and those Shadow Pokemon could potentially be shiny. Again, that's really cool, and that was a really good way to implement new NPCs. And they could have done something like that with Mateo. Outside of this gift exchange, like, what if you run into Mateo and he has a special Pokemon encounter with him? Maybe you can run into an NPC battle, and when you defeat him, you get extra rewards. They could have done a lot of things with this, and instead of doing that, they basically just had this gift exchange mechanic, which I don't think a lot of players will even care about. So yeah, unfortunately, this is just another case of Niantic not meeting potential, and that's a real shame because I really like the idea of them adding more NPC characters into Pokemon Go. But at the same time, I feel like every time they do it, it's kind of a coin flip. Like, it's either going to be something really cool and really rewarding, or it's going to be something lame and something players will not care about a week or a month from now. But of course, it's just being released, and I do think Niantic has the capabilities to iterate on Mateo, and I really hope they do. But we'll just have to wait and see, because outside of Mateo, there's still not a lot of excitement when it comes to routes. I really do not find that routes are extremely enjoyable and rewarding. Like, yeah, it's cool to collect extra buddy hearts when you complete routes, but outside of that, I really do not feel any need to complete routes on a daily basis. I think there's a lot of ways Niantic could have fixed that, and I do think Mateo is a good start, but it's a very minuscule start. And yeah, with that said, that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would love to know your thoughts regarding this along the routes event, as well as with Mateo. Is there something with Mateo that you wish Niantic would have done? Is there anything with this event that you are actually looking forward to? Share those thoughts in the comments down below, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it and found it to be informative, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then make sure you go and check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way within Pokemon Go, like with remote raids or the friendship system, then make sure you go and check out the Patreon. And as always, if you want to support my channel without spending any money, you can do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula, and I'm on these following platforms. Alright, and that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.